That's the physical adapter. When you have adapter number 2 and number 3, those are virtual adapters. In other words, those are virtual machines that you'll open up. In other words, every time you open up a virtual machine, can you go out on the internet on your virtual machine? The answer is yes. If you haven't tried it, try it. That's where your virtual adapter comes into play. But your actual adapter on your computer is where it says Ethernet adapter local area connection. It won't have a number next to it. It'll have connection specific DNS, domain naming service suffix. It says Active Directory hccs.edu. That's the first line. Your second line is IP version 6 link. You're gonna have to know a whole lot about that too. Don't worry, I'm gonna teach you. IP version 4, subnet mask default gateway. You're gonna have to know every last one of those 3 things that I just told you. You're gonna have to know a lot about IP version 6, and you're gonna have to know everything about IP version 4. The reason why you can't know everything about IP version 6 is because it has about 34. Anybody ever heard of the term undecillion? How many millions, mega millions that is? Undecillion? 3.4. Can't run out of IP address. Not anytime soon. IP version 4? Yeah, we've already ran out of IP address. But there is 2 types of IP addresses, and we'll talk about that later on. Let's take one more look. Work, but they don't talk about, stuff like, they do talk about security, but mostly they talk about how to wire up a network, which I'm going to teach you how to do it in here on a small scale, so you'll understand what you're doing. Why is it important for the cable? Well, they want you to understand like this. Will you build the cable? I don't do too much building on the network side of the house. I don't know what the other teachers do. Sometimes I do. Basically, what I'm saying is I'm more interested in, because I do have some of my classes, I do have them build cable. I'm more interested in something like this. Can you look at a cable and basically take a look? Because all of it's going to make sense to you later on. This is what you call a work area outlet. Okay? In other words, 6 and 6A and 7. For the most part, 6 and 6A and 7 basically all up to what? 10 gigs. But what happens if I ask you, I want some cabling for a network that I want to have a speed up to 1 gig? Which would you suggest? Now, for you to tell me the answer, you would have to know the speeds of 5, 5E, 6, 6A, and 7, and 7A. For you to tell me the right answer. You can give me any answer you want. I'm just going to say X. Wrong. Customers. Which one is the easiest to build? Which one is the oldest? Those are the questions you could look forward to. Which one is used mostly nowadays? Now, will they ask you every last one of these questions? I would say they can. That's the networking fundamental. Let's see. Networking fundamentals, all of it, the whole network thing is all 3 chapters, 6, 7, and 8. You're not done 6, 7, and 8. That we're only getting you started. Because if you look first, once you get to that address, in other words, they're the same address. Then you got the subnet mask. Then you got the default gateway. You want to know what's wrong with, if a person says that my computer can't get to the network, doesn't mean anything is wrong with that person's computer, but you have to determine that too. You have to determine if something's wrong with that computer, something's wrong with that cable, or depending on how I address the question. For example, now there's some other stuff I have to show you too. The client address is the IP version 4 address and the link local IP version 6 address. That's what you see. The router is the default gateway. Why do they call it the default gateway? Because it means that if I'm sending an email to my sister or my brother at home, I must use the default gateway because they're not here in this building. Everybody understand what I'm saying? A router interconnects different networks. If I don't need to go to another network, I need to stay inside my network, I don't need a router. But for me to send a message to my sister in Missouri City from here, I'm gonna need a router. I send an email and say, hey, what you doing? But if I wanted to send it to my buddy upstairs, I don't need a router. The key thing is, the person said they can't get to the internet. They say they cannot get to the internet. When they say they are talking about themselves. If they can't get to the internet, all of these come into play. Now, you got IP config up there. In other words, I want you to scroll down and to where your name is, and I want you to hit the up arrow key, and that IP config should come right back up, right? Once you do that, I want you to hit the where it says / on your keyboard, down next to the shift on the right hand side, put / and I want you to put ALL and then hit enter. Then go all the way back up to where it says IP config all and start looking at something. Everybody follow me? Who's not following? Now, the name of your computer, it should say Windows IP configuration. It should say C, and it should have your name. And your command, IP config all. It should say Windows IP configuration, and it should have the name of your computer. It should say Southwest West Loop Center 144, and it should have a number on it. Right?
Yes.
Next, after that, it's got that Active Directory stuff. It also, if you go down low where it says Ethernet Adapter Local, go down there. Now, once you get down there, you should see where it says Ethernet Adapter Local and maybe a couple more lines down. You should see an IP address for a DHCP server, IP address for a DNS server, and you already know the default gateway is the router. I'm just jumping ahead maybe one chapter a little bit. But that's all right. You need to know this anyway, basics. If somebody says, I cannot get to the internet, you cannot say it's just my computer, because you can't get to the internet If any one of these things are broke, you have to check them all. The easiest thing is to go and check that person's computer. That's the easiest. Rest, I'm going to show you how to do all the rest today. Ping is one of the terms that you can do. What I want you to do now is go ahead and we'll take a break, and I want you to go all the way down, and I want you to ping. Type in ping, and I want you to type in you can type in the IP address, or you can type in the IP address of the DNS server, DHCP server, or your IP address for your computer. And usually when you ping it, you should get a reply, and it should say everything is A-OK. After that, go ahead and take 15 minutes.